You tell me when we're great. So good morning. I am just so excited to have you with me this morning. We're going to have our tea together, although we're not together in location. But to have you join me this morning as my very first guest. So this is super exciting in both ways. So, I just want to thank you as well, because you welcomed me so warmly on Mind Valley, which is really where you and I met. And it was really very special. And I just want to also thank you for that. And I think a conversation around Mind Valley is maybe something for the future that you and I could have, because I feel it's such a good medium and forum that maybe a lot of people don't really know about.
Yes.
And I think it can bring so much value. And I know that you are, from our last conversation, brief one, that you are a very experienced Mind Valley member. So I would look forward to exploring that with you as well. But really, to have you join me this morning is part of my whole mission on changing direction. So I'm very honored. And I just want to take a second just to maybe explain to everybody what my vision is for this that we're setting off on today. And, I started a YouTube channel a while ago. I don't know why. I had a calling. I've done many different things in the past, but I really love connecting people. I think I've realized that is my passion. And during the last couple of years, where the whole world has been through so much turmoil, it made me realize even more how important connection really is, because that was the one thing for most of us sitting in isolation that we really struggled with. And thank goodness for the internet, because that was our way of being able to be connected if we lived alone. So it kind of made me realize so many things. And my whole mission now is really to connect people from all walks of life, but also mostly for people really have made a decision for whatever reason, and that's what I hope we're going to explore with you this morning, that have made a decision to change their direction in life completely, regardless of how young or how old they are. And part of this for me is also bringing your new direction, hopefully, to a new audience that don't know you. So it's going to bring something for you, but great value as well, I hope, for people who decide to tune in and join me every time in conversations, and this morning to join you in conversations. And my motto really is that it's never too late, no matter how old we are. So that's really that from me. And now I'd really like to hand over to you and to welcome you again, and just to ask you to start the journey with us of what was, well, first we're going to introduce yourself, I know, but also what was the catalyst that really took you from where you were to looking at a new direction?
No, thank you very much for the warm welcome, Amanda. It is amazing to meet you, and I'm very excited about your new platform.
Thank you.
So thank you so much. My name is Claire Boshoff, and I am a South African advanced life support paramedic. So I started my career in 1992, and then worked through the election years in Johannesburg, with the new change of government, worked through all of that and the bombings and all the stuff that went on. So that's really where my growth took place. My first 7 years was in Hillbrow, Johannesburg. And from there, I met my husband, and also a paramedic. And it was love at first sight. It was the buckled knees, the fast heart rate, the I can't breathe, the like everything that it is in a storybook. It was absolutely beautiful. And we got married. A year later, we had our son, Mike. And Mike was born with a heart defect, and the same day he had to go for heart surgery. Now, that was quite rough on both of us, because for 6 weeks, we actually didn't know. Every day we walked in, we didn't know if Mike was going to survive or not. We'd say, how's it going today? And they'd say, well, it's 50-50 chance. So to this day, when I hear 50-50 chance, I'm like, oh, I don't like that, because it's a reminder. But thankfully, with lots of positive intention, lots of working together, Mike pulled through. To this day, Mike's 23 now.
Wow,
And
that's
has
amazing.
never had any cardiac problems since then. So we're so blessed with that. And we were married 10 years. And one day Malcolm came home and said, listen, we need to go and see the doctor. And he'd had a bit of IBS problems before. And we said, sure, we're off. We went to the doctor. As paramedics and healthcare providers, we tend to not look after ourselves very well. You know, we look after everybody else, and we last. And certainly in this case, you know, because it was an IBS family issue and wasn't really looked at. And we went to hospital. They said, you're so young, let us do some tests. And when we come out, we're going to test for cancer too, but you're young. So it was probably IBS. We're going to send you home with some meds. We went home. Then came all the big tests that we had to go into hospital for. And there was this very interesting, I don't know the accent where this doctor came from, but it was very odd for me. And Malcolm was still half sleepy, waking up. And the doctor came to me and said, oh, we found cancer, lots and lots and lots of cancer.
Oh my goodness.
And we're going to operate. And he walked out the room. And I'm 31, Malcolm's 34. Mike at the time was 6. And we were totally shattered. It's something you don't expect. It's something so big that it's beyond words. Anyway, then I went into caregiving. I gave up my job because it was a lot of surgeries. It was chemotherapy. It was doctor's visits. It was incredible. So we were hanging on for 8 months, fighting a fight. And after 8 months, unfortunately, Malcolm passed away, which was, it was rough. And in the same month, our lease had ended. The lease was in his name. I had nowhere to go. I hadn't got a job, and I was a single mom. I was a widow, and I had to literally start life all over again.
Oh my goodness.
That was quite one of those moments that has you, if you look back now, you actually wonder, how did I get through those moments? How did I actually work through it? And family support and friends was really helpful in that time. But one of my biggest lessons from that was I then gone back to work. I decided to study further, and I was kind of finding my feet again. And it's almost like that first year was a little bit of I almost want to call it a memory loss, like a big gap in my life.
Yeah.
And
I think it's survival. Yes.
And I remember my dad coming home one day and he said to me, hey, Claire, he's like, let's have a chat. And I thought, and he's like, I want to tell you something, like what you've been through is really rough. It's really hard. But, you know, in life, if you know, in 20 years' time, I want you to think of Mike, because how you're grieving now is how Mike is going to grieve for the rest of his life. Because kids do what you do. They don't do what you say. They learn from what they see. And that was almost like a big kick up the behind for me. Suddenly realized, oh, it wasn't all about me, because you become very, I don't know, it's like tunnel vision when you're in space. And that to me was quite something, you know, like having to say, oh, I need to think of Mike's future here. And that's, I think, where my personal growth started. And it's also the same time I saw The Secret for the first time.
Okay.
Incidentally, I was quite mad at The Secret, because I thought to myself, oh, you're trying to tell me I just pulled this stuff into my life, a death, a widow, a single mom, no home, like no job.
So The Secret is a movie, isn't it? Just for those that maybe don't know, is a movie.
It's a movie. It's currently, I think, on Netflix. So, but it's been around for many, many years, I think 15 years or so. But that was my introduction. And initially I was quite resistant towards the idea. And over the next years, if I look back now and I look back at that, now I can see the past manifestations that came and how it worked. And I think just the idea was implanted, which made me think that I needed to be positive. I needed to find, you know, a new way of living. And what often happens in grief, which I only realized many years later, is if you don't deal with it, it comes back and it bites you. It really does. You end up in this kind of nowhere land where you not in the past and you're not in the future, but you're not in the now and you don't know which way to go.
And it's often totally unrelated, the thing that comes back and sort of magnifies it and is the catalyst.
Yes,
actually.
Yes. So I went back to school, I studied, I became, because there's different levels of being a paramedic. So I finished my advanced life support paramedic course, which was tough because I was literally sleeping 4 hours a day, getting Mike up super early, taking him to daycare. I was off, you know, back studying till 12. And, you know, it was rough, but I'm looking back now, I sometimes wonder how I actually again that. How did I get through that? And again, family and friends, you know, the support structures around you. And from there, after I went into management, I started training other paramedics. I really enjoyed that part of my life because it was a new adventure for me. But on the inside, I was incredibly lonely. I was so lonely. And where I met, or let's just say I went through a couple of relationships that I thought I could never have that first kind of love. You know, I fell with my bum in the butter the first time. That was the end. And now, you know, I was more meeting people to be in conversation with, but not love, if that makes any sense.
Yes, and even maybe companionship.
That's exactly the word I was searching for. Companionship. So unfortunately in this time, I attracted some very interesting people into my life. And I always say, like, you know, loneliness should never attract loneliness because it makes for a disaster of a relationship. So that, again, was big lessons to be learned. And in my second marriage, of convenience, call it, my daughter was born, and that to me was a miracle. I shouldn't have had her. I wasn't able to have kids again, and I was more a boy mom rather than a girl mom. Well, that's what I used to think. I grew up with my dad, you know, I grew up with the boys and the cousins, and the paramedic world is male, you know. So anyway, I had her and it changed my life again. I was like, oh, this is lovely. You know, I love this kind of feel and energy, and she's awesome. And then, yes, we mutually agreed this is not working. You know, we're holding each other back. It's not great. Where I met somebody that I fell head over in heels in love with. And that was a very hard relationship, but to a point that I was so negative, hurt, you know, in many ways, an abusive relationship that was hard on me and the children, and hard to understand what was going on. I couldn't understand at the time, which led me down very deep, dark paths. And I had then found Mind Valley, and I thought, well, I must be doing something wrong. What am I doing? There has to be an answer. And I really delved in with every second I have, and I learned the journey of self-development. And I realized that I had to change here for the world to change around me. It wasn't the other way around. I was expecting the world to change and for me to reap the benefits. But
we often say for things to change, I have to change. So it's an inward journey to outward.
And I had to go into this journey of finding self-love again, because in that kind of a relationship, because you're broken down, you break yourself down further. It's a very hard mental, it's very difficult to get out of that relationship. You want to stay stuck in a relationship like that, you know. And so from that journey, I had one particular night that was absolutely awful, that I thought, you know, this is not worth it. And thanks, the next morning woke up and realized I can't carry on like this anymore. This is just, this is beyond what I can have in my life. I
Mm.
need to move on.
And for your children too, for your children's sake as
Yes.
well.
But you know,
It's
as women, I think what happens is we kind of grow up with this fantasy that we need a man to take care of us, and we need to, you know, we need somebody in a supportive role, and you don't want to give that up. Because
yes.
at this age, it's also very scary to start your life from scratch again. You know, it's all the what ifs, and I wonder, and what if it doesn't work out, you know?
Yes,
And
yes. It's not good to sacrifice yourself to the point where, you know, that you're both suffering, or the environment of the family is suffering,
yes.
you know, at the end of the day.
And I think,
So,
you know, ending that relationship was good for both of us. You know, we both had learned some valuable lessons out of that relationship.
yes.
But I only again see that now, not at the time.
Yeah. You know, Claire, I have a philosophy that, and it depends on how you choose to see things, but adversity brings opportunity. That's my belief.
Yes.
So, you know, if we don't have challenges, we can't grow.
We
We
can't
just
grow.
stay cooped up in our little security box,
Yes.
and life just happens and all the rest of it. But so I think it's all how we choose to see things,
Yes.
and what we choose to use to learn from as well. So,
Well, my
so good that you
philosophy,
came to the realization.
my philosophy now is those were gifts. They were gifts for
Yes,
me to learn to move on.
yes,
I then later
yes,
decided I needed to sort out even more, go really deep. And I decided
yes.
to do the Mind Valley Life Coaching course. And those poor instructors, on the first few days, I thought, well, if this is going to work for me, it's going to work for everybody else. And I just gave them everything, and everybody moving on. And I'm
You
so
were probably
grateful.
brilliant for everybody, Claire. That was their learning curve. They could just get all this stuff happening,
Yes,
because that's what happens when you learn about coaching. Actually, it's
yes,
first of all a personal inward journey.
very good.
As part of, because I know when I studied psychology, you know, to become a counselor, that was part of the whole thing, is what you experience. Yeah.
It was amazing, you know, but also I had to go right back to grief, because I hadn't read
Oh,
grief in all those years. So I had to go right back
yes,
and work
yes,
my way through.
yeah,
So now I got to a crossroads. I also own a ambulance service, and you know, realizing I'm almost in a few days 48, and you know, a paramedic shelf life isn't very long on the road. It's a lot of trauma, and it's a lot of up and down in ambulances, response vehicles, as you know.
yes.
And I've decided to move into life coaching.
Wow. Okay.
So then get the younger paramedics into business, so that I can move out, start this, and also
Yes.
help the new paramedics with these things, because paramedics don't generally know how to work with emotions. It's an incredible roller coaster ride as a paramedic.
And I would imagine that's again your protection, isn't it? You have to cut off, because you must see the most unbelievable things,
We
you know,
do,
not
but
to be drawn in.
we just shut
Well,
down.
you have to, yeah.
Um, and again, not healthy, because you have to get and work through it eventually, you know.
Yeah.
So yes, and now I find myself here. I'm enjoying this. It's like I was born to do this, but I don't think I would have had the impact 10 years ago if you know, if I did it then.
Yes.
Now I
Yes.
am helping, especially women mostly, and teens, strangely enough, is what's coming to me. And I'm loving this challenge of, I always say to the teens, what I wish I knew when I was a teen, and then choose one topic and really get into discussing it, which is amazing, because they light up going, oh, this is something I can learn. This is something I can bring into my life now, you know, and I'm enjoying that. And just women in general that going through life changes, as we do, as mostly from 40 upwards.
Yes.
The kids are
Yes.
leaving the nest, and suddenly we left with, now what do I do
What should
now?
we do? Yeah. So Claire, can I just ask you, so would you say that it was really your own personal relationship that sort of had you taking a look at, there has to be a way that I can deal with this, or a better way, or a new way. So it was kind of the relationship, sorry, excuse me, it was kind of the relationship that was the driving force to get you interested in, and that's how you stumbled upon Mind Valley.
Yes, I just was at my wit's end. You know, I couldn't understand.
You were looking for anything. Were you looking for anything? And was that what Mind Valley attracted you, because it's so diverse?
You know, it's all about self-development. There's so many quests in every area of your life, you know, the spiritual, the home life, a parental life, your relationships, work life. There's so much, you know, your health, fitness. And I was really drawn to that. And by the time I'd done the first course on duality, I was just, wow. And I went all in.
And that's where you found your life coaching, was it? I mean, did you know you wanted to life coach? No. And it wasn't, you fell into it through that course?
I've always had people come and talk, you know, come for advice, come and talk. But I didn't know that was it. But for me, when I heard it, when the first message or email went out, I was like, that's it. I see now, this is what I wanted to do. And since then, it's just been a massive growth period for me. Like, I can't explain it to people, so big. And for the first time, I'm full from the inside. I was always looking for happiness out there, you know. Now happiness is
all in. It always starts inside, you know. It's like also being able to love. It's so difficult when you don't self-love to be able to love outwardly as well. So there's I mean, if we think about it, absolutely everything begins in here as well. But what do you think your biggest challenge was in making that choice? Or was there a challenge in making, I know you said you just realized this was something you wanted to do, but did you face challenges along the way as far as you've come now?
Many challenges. And you know, there's always this a little bit of a fear in us to be bold and take the steps that we're sure of, especially when you think of life as you had failures. So now I don't see life like that. I see them as gifts. That was preparing me for this. That was getting me to this point to help others. Also for me to understand others and their journeys that they in. You know, I couldn't, we have, as a joke as a paramedic, is we can't understand a patient's pain. Let's say they break an arm, unless we break an arm.
Well, I think it's like that in life, isn't it? It's you can't understand sadness, and if you haven't been sad, or you know, heartbroken that you were, obviously it was very traumatic to lose that love of your life, your first husband. And now you have able to have empathy towards other people who go through those experiences themselves, you know.
And I'm so grateful for those lessons, you know. I had a lot to learn myself, like you were saying. Like, I couldn't love properly because I hadn't healed, I hadn't worked on it. I thought it was there, you know. I went looking for it on the outside.
You know, as I'm listening to you, I'm also hearing that you know, there must be a place for you with your years of experience as a paramedic and now your skills as a life coach to actually put together something for paramedics to go through, because you said to me earlier on that they totally, you know, as a paramedic, you tend to disconnect emotionally because for survival and your job. But surely there must be a place, and it would be wonderful to think of taking paramedics. You should experiment with your own paramedics through a course of understanding, because if you cut off too much, you cut out the world. And they probably have families and partners who need to feel or have them feel certain things.
We were actually discussing that in our last operations meeting with the
paramedics. Oh, really?
And just saying to them, and one of the things I brought up, and I said, we battle to, you know, use or understand our emotions, and everybody went like this.
There you go. You've got your next course lined out for you.
I think paramedics are different breed of person because we think that we're strong. We think that,
Yeah.
you know, we have to carry that burden on our shoulders, and we certainly do. I mean, we're meeting people on the worst day of their life. So, I mean, you have
Yes.
to take charge and be positive and help them through a difficult situation. But we don't think of
Yes.
after.
No. In fact, it was interesting. I was listening to a talk. Somebody was saying really about the life of comedians and people who, you know, bring that side to the world, you know, make us laugh and feel
Yes,
good.
yes,
And yet how we never stop to think that they are still human.
yes,
And they go
that's
through
true.
so many roller coasters in their own lives of emotions and things. And because we see people and we immediately tend to want to put them in a box. So a comedian is somebody who's always happy, always sees the bright side of life. You know, paramedic is always strong, nothing will get them down, you know, they'll go through anything because that's what they're trained to do. So, you know, it's interesting how as human beings we tend to just box people up according to what their profession is. And I think if we're talking about changing direction as well, I think that sometimes fear is also of what are the people closest to us going to think. You know, like,
I still have
you
that.
know, Claire, you've got a thriving business, you know what you're doing, you've studied it. Now you want to just, and I know you haven't given it all up, but now for some people it would mean giving up what they knew or what they were doing. And then people going, oh, you're crazy, you know, how can you do that? How are you going to survive? How are you going to make money? And I think it's little things like, well, little, I think they're big things like this that also stop so many people in their path of taking the steps to change direction. It's the fear of, yeah, and the people we surround ourselves with are so important because they can make or break it for us if we're not strong enough just to follow our own gut feeling. You know, they say we become like, you know, the 10 most people we spend our time with. So sometimes we have to check in, who are we spending our time with, you know?
That is true, yes.
But Claire, if I could just ask you, you know, you've been through so much and you're so courageous and you've come through and you've following a new direction. And I know you're still on that path of now getting things up and running. And I know that we spoke about, you know, you naturally drawn some, which you never thought with the teens and things like that. So has your practice actually started now? Are you in practice? Are you taking clients?
Yes, so I have three clients at the moment.
Great.
A great start for me.
Okay.
Lovely people, and we loving the journey together. So yes, but also it is new. Everything is new, and it's so different to the paramedic world, you know.
Yes.
I'm doing things now that I didn't know existed, you know, like
Yes.
build a website and let's do some social media marketing. And that's not kind of what a paramedic does.
But that's where collaboration can become so fabulous. I'm only just thinking that, you know, we never know who's watching this,
yes,
you know, our conversation this morning. And, it, you know, if they had a need or a desire or a looking for a coach, I just thought it would be really nice. They've learned a little bit about you and your journey to know how to connect with you. So if I may, with your permission, I'm going to put your details out there on my YouTube channel, which is where I would like to have this and conversations with you going forward as well. So I don't want to do that if you're not ready for your client, you know, to take on clients.
We have to face the fear. We have to get
and
through
that's
things.
Exactly. And that's what I hope this is about, is the connecting of you to new people and them to you, that they know where to find somebody. So, I mean, are you embracing all aspects of coaching? Is that,
yes.
or are you going to specialize in certain areas?
You know, Amanda, coaching is coaching, you know, and if you are willing to take a deep dive inside, and it doesn't matter what you're facing, a life coach is going to help you to get through it. So
yes,
certain things that I'm very familiar with, that I most probably can give a little bit more insight. But you know, I've done the holistic coaching on top of it. I've done the spiritual coaching on top of it, a little bit of business coaching on top of it, because I wanted to learn more about my business and this business. So
Yes.
at the end of the day, I think as we think of ourselves when we want to be coached, you know, it's not about the thing, it is about the person that's going to
Yes.
allow you to go from tunnel vision to an open mind, to expand your mind, to find more out about yourself for your own growth. So
and possibly, like you came to Mind Vision looking for a way to get through a very difficult relationship, and you explored, and now you're coaching. I suppose you can come to coaching thinking that this is something that I want to explore, and actually find out that, oh my goodness, I'd like to look at that.
yeah.
I know that going through a divorce, my first divorce, was what actually put me into personal development and self-exploration. So, but yet,
yes.
and going there thinking that if I could fix me, I could fix my marriage. And in one session, I realized that actually I can't, you know, I can't fix somebody else. I can only fix me.
Yes, we can.
And I don't mean fix that there's things, all things wrong with us. When I talk about fix, I just talk about how can I be the best me for me.
Yes.
Because we spoke about everything starts from the inside out. So as I grow externally as well, and my environment changes.
True. Very.
So, you know, like that. So, well, great. So I'm going to get your details to put up about that.
Thank you. Thanks,
and then Claire, you know, before we kind of round up and finish off, could I just ask you if you could leave one word of advice or one tip, let's say, to people who may tune in and listen to this conversation, if they were thinking of changing direction, or, you know, the first step, or what would you say to them just from your own experience?
So Amanda, I think the first thing would be the self-development journey is a must for anybody who wants to take on a new direction in life. You need to understand yourself. You need to understand what are the things that make you happy, what are the things that make you sad. You need to kind of delve into old habits and things that don't serve you anymore. So I think that's the number one thing. And I'd say number two for me is, I've got a big thing on my board just yet, and I live by this now, and it says my only job is to find happiness. My only job, no matter what I do, if it's at work, if it's at home, if that is not the purpose behind what I'm doing, then I must double take and think about it. So, because when you are happy, when you start finding it from the inside, life opens up to you. That's when things really make a difference. But as long as we're searching for it there, we're not going to go and find it. So it's probably my biggest lesson in life. And that's why it's up on my board as a reminder. If it's not making me happy,
then it's not going to be.
I need to work through the happiness, even through the fear, to get the happiness.
Yes. And I think I'm so excited by what you've said, Claire, because I think this is also really exactly why I'm doing what I want. This is to open up these conversations, because I think that, as I said in the beginning, that, you know, we often stay stuck because we're frightened to take that step, you know, and yet we stay unhappy, not really fulfilled.
That's very
because we go and study something for years and we feel we have to follow that. Because we invested in it time-wise, financially, everything. And yet there's always this pull, this passion that somehow is pulling us. Yet we're so scared to take that step. And that's what I'm really hoping, that what I'm, you know, this journey that I'm on, which is these conversations, that it's going to inspire a lot of people. So
I'm sure
I really want to thank you. I really want to thank you for giving me the courage to do this first conversation.
Oh, thank you. And it's marvelous chatting.
And I think we're going to have a lot more conversations, both on camera and off camera, actually.
I'm sure we will.
And I know you live in the beautiful wilderness, so I'm sure that being in the Western Cape, we're going to meet up at some stage and part of Mind Valley and everything. So really, Claire, a big thank you from my heart to yours for
You're
this
most
morning, and
welcome.
I've enjoyed it so much. I
No,
really, really
thank you.
have. So thank
Very,
you.
very
Thank
much.
you. Pleasure. Have a blessed day. Go
And
well.
you too. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.